Hey, this is BA and welcome to the power behind WD Gann's time cycles. A little bit of background here about myself. I've been trading since early 1995, so about 21 years. And I started out trading different systems and technical indicators and stuff, which I'm sure that you all know about, like stochastic, stuff like that. And got into, it was about 1996, early 97 that I got into the planetary stuff. And I made my first planetary market call. It's still there. You can go back and check. It was over the weekend, but it was July 20, 1998. And as a high, and that's what it came in. And I actually put that out as kind of like a forecast to friends and stuff like that. That was my first astro forecast. And it's still there on the Dow. I mean, you can go back and check it out. And that's 98. And it was a few years later that I got into WD Gann's time cycles and working with the cycles. And I realized early on that the cycles were the key. And over the years, I've built up my understanding of it, and want to share a little bit with you. So let's get started on that. The combining of the cycles is what makes Gann's time cycle so powerful. Let's take a look at two cycles. One will be a smaller, faster pivoting cycle, and one will be a cycle of repetition, known in the Gann world as a COR, cycle of repetition. Before we do that, just a quick note here. With the cycles and all that stuff, and moving up to better systems and stuff, and coming in here, I've got that background that many of you out there have. You know, you've tried the different systems, they worked okay and stuff like that. What this is going to show is the reason why these things are such a huge advantage over all the other traders out there. And that's key. So I wanted to tie that in for you. Okay, so we're going to take a look at two cycles. Cycle A and a COR. Go ahead and write these down. These are for the Euro US dollar for February of 2016. Okay. Cycle A is February 1 low, February 11 high, February 21 low, February 26 high, March 1 low. Note that cycle A goes low, high, low, high, low. Note that the COR also goes low, high, low. Here's a rule. Well, that's also a rule. It never goes low, low, or high, high. It always goes low, high, low, high. And we're going to see an example of that coming up. But anyway, it's also a rule that a COR never pivots by itself. It's always tied into a cycle A pivot. So we're not, and I get this question a lot, we're not going to get a February 1 low and a February 2 low, okay? There's no way. I mean, we didn't get a February 1 or February 2 low. This is early May of 2016, so this is looking back. These two cycles come together. They blend, okay? So this COR will come in and pivot with this smaller cycle, okay? So you want to keep these rules in mind. Let's go to the market and take a look, see what happened. Hopefully you've had these written down. Okay, this is the Euro US dollar, and we start here at the date of February 1 of 2016. And we've got a low here, January 29 and February 2. So that occurred over the weekend. We'll take the lower of the low here. And we go up to a high on February 11, which is right here. Now, note this line, and I've mentioned this in my other videos. Note how this stops it here, kind of breaks it a little bit here, stops it here, provides resistance here. Okay, that is indication that is on. That's good. Okay. Like say if we moved it, let's see, moved it to here and stuff. See how it stops it here, but it just kind of breaks in through here. This is actually your high point. Cycle pivot right there. Okay, February 21 low. That'd be about right here, 22nd. Okay. February 26 high, which is right here. And March 1 low. Down there is March 2nd. Okay. Now that was our smaller cycle A. Now I want to I'm going to do the cycle repetition. I'm not going to draw it from the exact same points because I want you to see the line, okay? But they would have pivoted the same day as what's shown here. Now you can see that the yellow, which is our COR, our yellow actually captures the larger trend. Okay. Now, that's not always the case. There are a few exceptions to that. However, as a general rule, the COR will catch the larger trend. Pause it here and kind of take a look at this because there's really a lot of information in here. Now let's take a look at a strange lineup that would confuse most but has a logical conclusion for the Euro-US dollar, August 2015. Here again we have high, low, high, low, high, low on cycle A. Everything's peachy keen. But here on the COR we have a low, low. Now how did this happen? Well, the cycle shows a pivot August 6th and a pivot August 28th. And these get married over here. So if this is a low, this has to be a low. If this is a low, this has to be a low. But it breaks one of our rules because our rule says that each cycle has to go low, high, no exceptions. And if we went low, this one cannot be a high here because it's married over here, you see. They never pivot. One cycle doesn't pivot high and the other pivots low. They always, and this is the rule that makes this so powerful. Both cycles pivot in the same direction at the same time. So you get that reinforcement between the cycles. That's what you trade. Okay. What's the solution here? There is an inversion August 23rd. 2015. It's an inversion high and it gets married to here. Okay? Because inversions occur in specific zones. Okay? And there was a zone here, so we know what has to happen. It's not what could happen, it's what has to happen. Now, a lot of people, they fear inversions, but inversions are nature's way of keeping the cycles in sync, and they're knowable in advance for both cycle A and your COR. Okay, now write down these dates. Let's go to the market and see what happened. Okay, and we've got a high here, and we go down to a low here. This is a day off, and that's on. Okay, to August 12 is a high. It should probably be this one. Yeah. See that line? Boom, boom. Missed it a little bit there, but then had to catch up to it there. Okay. Why did we go sideways for these few days? Because our high was in. Because our next price point was over here, so it just simply took its time getting there. Okay. And so that's the August 18 low on the Euro-US dollar. And it's August 19. I don't think that's right. I think it's here. Yeah. Now look at the difference between this, and this is so important. This line is so. I'm going to do a video on it. See how that cuts everything? Well, this one is on it, but it just cuts this. It doesn't feel right because it's not there. It's there. Now it cuts this, and it barely cuts. Or I mean, it barely cuts that, and it doesn't at all there. This is where it's at. This is where your low is. Okay. August 22 high. So this is August 21, and this is August 24. So it's that high up there. Okay. Okay, August 28 low. It should be probably here, yep. And that's all of our turns in August area. Okay, now that's our smaller cycle. Now let's put in our larger cycle with the inversion in it. And that starts August 6th low, which is here, and goes up to here. I'm going to draw the lines a little bit off so you can see the contrast between the colors. If I drew them right on top of each other, it wouldn't be so good. Wouldn't be so noticeable. Okay. But they actually would have pivoted the same day. All right, so you can see here, okay, again, the COR is the larger trend. All right, now that's not always the case. I mean, there's areas over here where, it could get choppy or whatever. That's how it works. And what the key is the fusion between the two cycles. There are no indicators out there that you can double check using two different systems to tell you the same thing. Meaning all the indicators out there that are individual, like stochastics and stuff. And yeah, you can combine that with, like, say, MACD or whatever. But what happens when stochastic and MACD say two different things, which we all know happens, okay? These two systems work together. They reinforce each other. And that is the power behind W.D. Gann's time cycles. Now, another thing is each cycle pivot has its own mathematical point of force that price is going to that's knowable in advance. But we won't go there. If you have gained insight from my video, subscribe so you can get the latest of my free market calls, updates, commentary, and teachings. In fact, in the book Tunnel Through the Air, the first date is in the foreword, and it's dated May 9, 1927. The last date in the book is August 30 of 1932. This is exactly 1,940 days, which is why we're looking back from 1940. Knowledge is priceless. Hey, this is BA reminding you, you can succeed. Take care. Bye-bye.